I'd like to call to order the November 5, 2013 meeting of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners and ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance as we begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and if you'd join me in prayer and moment of silence. I'd like to start our invocation today with a tribute to Officer Rob Bingaman, who died in the line of duty, working for the Asheville Police Department and all of us. So let's start with a moment of silence, and then I'll go into our invocation. God, thank you for the men and women in law enforcement who protect us each day. They give us emergency and potentially life-saving medical assistance, make sure criminals and accidents are handled, take us away from the fear of violence, gangs, evil action, and criminal acts that many in the world experience every day. We live in a safe, healthy, calm, and full life because these men and women give us more room for error and mistake, less concern about the basics of life, as many people in the rest of the world have to worry about constantly. Give particular comfort to the family of Officer Bingaman, his wife Genevieve, his stepdaughters, his friends. Hold them close and take care of them in this time of tragedy. Guide them and guide all the officers that are serving us, and hold them firmly in care should danger come their way. Give them continued strength and courage to do their jobs and protect their families and friends as they protect us. As General Patton stated, it's foolish and wrong to mourn men who died. We should thank God that there were such men as Officer Bingaman lived. Thank you for Officer Bingaman. We're a better community because of his kindness and thoughtfulness and professionalism and his desire to serve us in law enforcement and take care of us just as he did when he was a Marine serving our country in the armed forces. Hold them up, take care of them, and let them know we appreciate them. We have a safe place to live, a wonderful environment to do business and transactions, go to school, to retire, and just enjoy these beautiful mountains because we have law enforcement backing us up and taking care of us every step of the way. People like Officer Bingaman are heroes, and thank you for giving us heroes in a time where sometimes it seems like there are not many heroes available to be looked at and to be considered as role models. Amen.
Amen.
In accordance with our code of ethics adopted by the Commission, it's the duty of every board member to avoid actual or apparent conflicts of interest. Does any board member know of any potential or actual conflict of interest that might arise with any matter we might hear tonight? No. And if not, we'll continue on to public comment. The time limit for any comment to the board is 3 minutes. If your time expires, then you may leave your questions along with your name, address, phone number, or email with the county manager. Board members are not expected to comment on matters during the public comment session of the meeting. These comments should be limited to subjects that are within the jurisdiction of the Commission or pertain to matters upon which we may act. Any individual speaking during public comment should address the entire board. Any polling of board members is inappropriate. Persons addressing the board are expected to observe the Commission decorum and be respectful of everyone in the room. Anyone who willfully interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts the session will be asked to leave the meeting. and the Commission reserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously considered by the Board. Do we have any public comment tonight? Yes, sir. Reverend Ogden, please. And Dr. Grant.
Chairman Gant and Commissioners, I'm here representing the Inter-Denomination Ministerial Alliance of Asheville and Buncombe County. My name is Keith A. Ogden, and I currently serve as the president. On behalf of the Inter-Denomination Ministerial Alliance of Asheville and Buncombe County, we would like to make the following statement. The Register of Deeds of Buncombe County, Drew Ressinger, had no legal right or authority to allow same-sex couples to apply for a marriage license. In this case, Mr. Ressinger has a fiduciary and physical responsibility to the voters of Buncombe County to uphold the law and not to put or invoke his personal interests, views before his public trust and duty. The state constitution says that these marriage licenses cannot be issued. Even though he did not sign them, he allowed them to apply. In closing, Mr. Ressinger has a physical and fiduciary responsibility, as I stated earlier, to do his job. We are also requesting that Mr. Ressinger be reprimanded, apologize, and promise to uphold the duties and responsibilities of his said office from this day forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Ogden. Dr. Grant, either?
That's it? Okay.
Okay.
I'm Ron Gates, pastor of Greater Works Church and a part of IMA. In my and to the Commissioner Board and to all, in my conversation, sitting down with Mr. Reisner on that particular day, I think it was October the 7th, in which he was spotlighted in regards to accepting applications. I sat down with him and asked, why was this proceeded forward? And it was his thoughts of belief that I believe that everyone should be married. Well, I suggested that you are up to uphold the law for everyone. You're for the people, not for a particular group, but actually for the people. And you went forward by accepting the applications without considering the body or the people in whole. And he just said that it was his belief that everyone should be married. Well, I said, well, what about the law in which that we are to abide by? And so, as Dr. Ogden have read, we just want to adhere to the law, and that he be reprimanded for the actions that was took, because we believe they use a personal office. Use the office for a personal agenda.
Thank you, Reverend Gates.
My name is John Grant. I'm the pastor of the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church of Asheville. I think when any public official decides to invoke their own personal opinions and views instead of upholding the law, all of us ought to be concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for the alliance. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Hi, I'm Reverend Lisa Landis. This is my first time over here, and I have to admit it's very impressive. And it's nice to appear in front of you again. As I said, I am a reverend, and according to my spiritual beliefs and the understanding in the laws of the United States and my First Amendment constitutional right, is that I have freedom of religion. And freedom of religion means that there are religions where people do accept those who love their own, and that's my spiritual belief. So if I'm going to believe that we do have constitutional rights, then First Amendment says freedom of religion said that everyone has a right to be happy. I stood in front of you let's see, November of 2011, after I was arrested, after I was targeted, after I was falsely imprisoned, and after I was maliciously prosecuted. And you know, one of those charges that I had was State versus Cole. It was a common law, which it was upholding an incitement riot conviction of the Ku Klux Klan leader who brandished weapons. In other words, the common law was that I was brandishing a weapon, inciting a riot, but that one was dropped. Instead, I was charged with or convicted of impeding traffic in an area where the police had the roads blocked off even before I got there. So I'm letting you know that I do understand my constitutional rights and that I will be filing a federal civil rights lawsuit. I feel that it was a conspiracy, that I was targeted because I keep speaking of the corruption in Buncombe County. Now, I also, while I was away, found out that there's a connection between Asheville and the Port of Miami. So I am hoping that you might consider asking someone who is very corrupt to resign before I continue searching how I can find an impeachment for the problem. So it's nice to be back. I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Landis. Any other public comment tonight? Mr. Rice, and then gentleman in the green, then Mr. Rice.
There, I'm Greg Brookshire. I too, it's my first time ever being up here, but I've saw a need that I wanted to bring to your attention. That's something that I'm the current president at the Lester Community Center, and for the past several years we had gotten a grant from the Buncombe County Parks and Greenways Department, which my understanding is has rolled over into the Cultural Arts Authority. And the grants that we were getting, I was told this year, were no longer going to be in the budget. And just over the past few years, one year we renovated our baseball field. One year we renovated our parking lot and our parking area. Completely renovated our kitchen one year. And that's with $5,000 a year, which is small in the county budget, but huge in the Lester Community Center budget. And I would just like to see those funds into a formalized grant to where the various community centers could apply for those each year. I've talked to several other community center leaders, and they're all just like us, just barely making our budget month to month, and any improvements have to come through grants. And we appreciate all the help that you guys have done, and we've got a ability now, since they've split you guys up into districts, to be able to have more conversation with our commissioners, which is a great thing. But going forward, I don't want to see this fall through the cracks to where we can't get that money, because with this new authority, the community centers are grouped into a group with libraries, with cultural resource organizations. When you group community centers and libraries, the money is more than likely going to go to the libraries. And we just want to make sure that this money can still come to the community centers and be able to do the good that we do. Bert Abrams is with me, and he can tell you a little bit more about what we've done. And I would just like to encourage you to leave these funds to where our elected officials can distribute them out. I'm very uncomfortable with an appointed board having control of the money instead of our elected officials. But we have a monthly manna distribution, a weekly welcome table where we provide a free meal to anybody that comes in, and they have over 100 people every single Wednesday. And all these things, you know, Lester's kind of northwest corner out by herself and a long way from Asheville. So we just feel like we're filling in a good gap out there, and we don't want to see these funds taken away. So I'd just like to encourage you to have a formalized grant to where we can kind of plan for that each year, and, you know, we can use the course of time to provide for that.
I'm Bert Abrams, Lester Community Center, and I got involved after I retired with that community center, and I've been firsthand in seeing what you people in the county, with the money that's flowed in, it has provided, and I like to view this as a financial investment. I want to stress that now, because this would not have happened if this money hadn't been there. This facility is less than 3,000 square feet, including the 2 porches. And the numbers that I put together from August the 1st, 2012 to August the 31st, 2013 is the total number of pounds, people, and mileage that's gone through that facility. The total number of people using the facility, that 12-month period, 14,127. Number of volunteers, 1,410. The number of mileage, 13,253. That's very conservative. That's not anything close to liberal. The volunteer hours, 6,526. Total pounds of food served, 42,078.
Wow.
Total individual served, 6,425. Without the facility, it's obvious I wouldn't be here having this conversation. Thank you very much.
Well, I would like, while you're up there, Mr. Brookshire, Mr. Abrams, I've been appointed chairman of that group, and there's been no discussion of taking away any of this money. So I'm not sure where you're getting this information. I'd be glad to talk to you. We haven't met as a board officially. We just had a preliminary meeting, but I think I can speak for the board and say that's not going to change. So I'm not sure where you got the information. It's not coming from us.
It was already taken away this year. You know, we didn't. Lynn Pegg was the one that I'd spoke to.
Okay.
So
I don't anticipate a lot of change in the community outreach and the funding we've done. But if this board didn't do it, then I think that's an issue. But we're always going to look at it. We're going to talk to people. We're going to give you a chance to tell us what it does for your community, and obviously it does a lot for Lester, and that's what we want to hear. This is part of public comment. This is all part of the process, and I thank you for coming.
Okay. Appreciate your concern.
Okay, Mr. Rice, and then gentleman on the third row after Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good to see you. I'd like to say the Primitive Quartet tonight is personal friends of mine since we grew up together. And they're a great group of folks, and they certainly deserve this award. And they're not looking for nothing except go home, do God's work, and let that be it. They're not about man's praise, and they're not about getting pats on the back. So it don't impress them a bit for you to do that. So I just want to let you know. But there are some official business that I'd like to bring up. Bad economy times. We're living in them. Couldn't be any worse. But our Board of County Commissioners voted 7-0 to pass a budget. And this budget and the tax increase on the property owners, a 7-0 vote to put the tax burden on people that you're talking about today. The fellow brought up the culture arts. This was presented by your county manager's independent board. It's no such thing. It's lied to the public. It's an extension of the county government, and 3 county commissioners sitting on it. It's not an independent authority. It's under the county government. What I'm concerned about is on the tax bill, is showing 3.5 cents. It can go up to 7 cents. It's lied to the public again. No tax increase. They haven't seen it yet. They haven't even begun to see it yet. When I say lie to the public, you wait till the budget comes around and you see how much tax revenue is being put out here, and you'll find out just how much tax rate you set. I said 7 members voted to do the budget and set the tax rate. Mr. Fry didn't vote on that budget. But whenever he voted to form the Culture Recreation Authority, he voted bigger budget than what was already being presented with the Culture and Arts not added in. Because when you add in the Culture Recreation Authority, you say it's going to be independent? No, it ain't going to. You said it's going to not raise revenues above 3.5. You said something about it the other day in revenue neutral terms, Mr. Chairman. Let me tell you, when you go out to the community and you start telling people this kind of stuff, you're going to see that your words are going to come back to haunt you. The public is tired of being taxed. This is the biggest tax increase Buncombe County has given to the public in years, and it's going to show on the record, and you've done it in a time of economic downturn. And the other thing is you lied to the people about the Culture and Recreation Authority being an independent board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Yes, sir.
Mr. Rice, the vote was a 6-0 vote instead of a 7-0 vote, and I absolutely voted against the budget, and the culture art was part of the budget. So it wasn't a 7-0 vote.
All right, any other public comment tonight? Yes, sir. Anybody after this gentleman want to have public comment? Okay, blue shirt, you'll be next. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay. First off, I apologize for the cell phone going off. It's unexcusable. Sometimes your old age, you forget to do things, like turn them off. But my name is Dave McMahon. I'm president of the Buckeye Cove Community Club in Swannanoa, and we have the privilege of having 2 county commissioners. The district lines between District 1 and 2 goes right through the middle of Buckeye Cove, so maybe we can get double help. We're no longer a community of small farmers, and textile mill workers. And actually, we're only 3 miles from the city limits, and we've become a bedroom community for Asheville. Our income is limited. Our rentals last fiscal year, which ended September 30th, was $2,800. I'm sorry, was $2,900. Our fixed expense of utilities and insurance was $2,800. So that left $100 left over, and we made it through barely a dollar here, a dollar there, begging. But we desperately, and we're concerned that these grants aren't coming on like they used to. Years ago, our club used to get $10,000 to $15,000 a year in grants, and that's been a long time ago. But we're desperate for those funds. We're one major expense, like having to replace a roof, a heat pump, major work on the well, and we're bankrupt. So we desperately need these grant funds that we can plan on to take care of deferred maintenance on our facility and to build a reserve to take care of some of these major items, they're going to come. That's for sure. So, and we serve a broad group of people in the community, from weddings, showers, memorial service for funeral, religious services, and we're the only one close by. But we ask you to please keep some funds coming so that we can better serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Bell, go ahead, Mr. Bell.
Chairman, again, I do want to go back and speak in our discussion on some other things, but I would like to say something to gentleman before I forget it and ask just a question. If he wanted to request for assistance for whether it be grants or whatever, Dr. Green, what would be the best avenue for him to request that for that community center? Obviously, they're very close to, living on the edge right now with expenses and things. So, what is the
historically, these grants have come through the Parks and Recreation budget, and the Parks Board has made these recommendations. If they wanted to request funds, they could request through our normal community development funding process, and those applications will go out in just a few weeks. But those are the only two avenues for requesting funds from outside agencies.
Okay, and so is that an annual event where that goes out for each year?
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
And that'll be on the county website as well?
I will check on that. I'm not sure we normally put it out there to solicit requests.
And what's the in the past, what was the timing on when those applications would be made if it was going to be done through the parks?
I can find out about that. That was really done pretty removed from my office and our budget process, so I can get that information. The rest of them usually come in November, December. The ones that come straight to the county budget process and to the commissioners. So let me check on that, and I'll have it for you in just a few minutes.
Well, and I would just say to the gentlemen that have come here about the community centers, I think the intent of the CRA, the Community Recreation Authority, is to kind of keep the status quo of what we're doing. Every year you have to come in and present your case, whether it's the CRA or the Buncombe County Commission. So, you know, we look at the things, we look at what you're doing on your part. Do you have any skin in the game? If you don't have skin in the game, it's harder to justify county money going to folks that aren't putting money in. Your groups are. I happen to know firsthand. I've been at both your facilities many times. And so that's something that we will be educating the CRA, and you can make a separate application here if you choose. We're still working out how we're going to do this. This is a brand new authority, so we don't have rules right now, but we will. And we're going to work real hard. We're meeting twice a month to make sure we have rules that we can get out there and people know how we're going to run the authority. So there is a real effort and an interest to do this the right way, and I do anticipate it would be pretty much the status quo. But thank you, and we're aware of it, and we're going to try to do the best we can to be good stewards of the money and make sure that your communities are well served, because we serve everybody.
Mr. Chairman, I do have that information. Usually it's a July application for a fall award of the money, and this past award went to 42 community gardens, and it was a total of $24,000.
All right.
So is that mailed out to them if they got a grant the previous year? Are they notified, or as Commissioner Frost said, do they have to apply online?
Yes, Ms. Stone just said they are notified, and
Okay, thank you.
she's close to those.
And I would ask you gentlemen that are here, if you don't get noticed during these times, let us know. I mean, that is one of the things we do. Yeah, I'll just quickly from there. I'll repeat it.
Like she mentioned last year, they had it with the community gardens, and that put that ear tag on it. And like out in Leicester, we didn't need a community garden.
Okay.
That was more of an afterthought.
All right.
It'd be a great thing for community to have.
So the point was that your particular area did not need the community gardens because you couldn't apply for that. Okay.
Makes sense.
Well, we're going to be taking all that up, and I can assure you that'll be something that'll be thoroughly discussed, and I will pass along your concerns, and I appreciate y'all being here. Okay, any other public comment tonight? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Maria Horton, and I'm president of the Spring Mountain Community Club. So this is really basically the same topic, but what I'd like to say is that we have applied for grants in the past, and we have gotten monies to do things, but usually grants that we apply for from other areas will not go for maintenance. They'll only go for new development. So if we need a heat pump, we can't apply unless it's a new thing we've never done before, or we have to meet it dollar for dollar. A lot of grants won't let us use sweat equity, which is what we have done with the Buncombe County and different parks and recs. We've had sweat equity where they gave us funds and we matched it with manpower and time. But your other grants from your other areas won't let you do that. You have to match dollar for dollar. Well, if we apply for a $5,000 grant, we've got to have $5,000 in the kitty in real funds to match it, and that limits us on how we can develop, how we can. Maintaining is one thing, but we'd like to develop areas in our community. We'd like to do something for a respite care because we've got a lot of aging population in our area, and we'd like to be able to offer that on an ongoing basis. And that's a new program, but we don't have the nest egg to match to get funds from, say, the Duke Endowment, or there's other. I've been to the fundraising fairs and this, that, and the other. That's a handicap that the community centers have. What money we have, we spend just to keep the roof patched and the heat on all winter. So if we had a chance toward funds from you folks that we could use to match funds for another grant, that might be a possibility for us to reach out. But we have limited sources of income if we don't get it from you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Horton. And I would, Madam Clerk, if we could pull the ones that were from the community centers and maybe send that to the Community Cultural Recreation Authority and Interim Director Sherry and Director Thigpen, if you could get that to us, let's go ahead and pull those so we can be thinking about that. I know Commissioner Belcher and Commissioner Frost have heard it, but it'd be good for everybody else on the CRA to hear these concerns as we develop policies and think about that. So thank you. Good comments. Any other public comment tonight?
I'd like to speak on some of the public comment, if I could. I want to thank, if that's okay, if I need to do, point of personal privilege or.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to thank the Reverend Ogden and Dr. Grant for coming today and speaking their heart, speaking from their position as ministers, their position as leaders in the community. I don't expect us as a board to agree on comments that were spoken. I happen to had taken an oath to support the Constitution of North Carolina, and right now we have a marriage amendment, and I was concerned about that too. Mr. Dysinger is a great guy. I mean, I've met him many times and like him as a person for sure. But I was concerned about the accountability of that position. So. So I'm wondering I know that in some counties, Dr. Green, the position is appointed in some counties rather than elected. And is that can you speak to that, or can you bring information back? Or
I'm very uncomfortable with this discussion, and it's not on the agenda, and it's getting a little bit more than just a matter of personal privilege.
Why don't you answer that question, then we'll just, if there's any other, I think we might be going beyond personal privilege, but let's answer that question first, and then we'll.
Register of Deeds are elected in the state of North Carolina.
Okay. Well, my conversation was really regarding the discussion in public comment. What I was wanting to do was to try to address what the pastors had brought here today, just like the other conversations. So that was my intent, is to give them support from here regarding concern in that area, and certainly not directed to be personal towards anybody on this board or that position. But I wanted to thank them for coming today, and I appreciate it took courage for them to do that, and I thank them for coming forward and doing that.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next matter we have is an adoption of the agenda, and we have in pre-session decided to pull the grant project ordinance. Is there a motion to follow the agenda as presented, other than pulling the grant project ordinance to the new business as we have suggested it? There's been a motion by Commissioner Frost. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner King. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The the agenda is adopted, including adoption of the consent agenda other than the grant project ordinance by a 7-0 vote. Next, we have the appointment of the county attorney. We have a resolution that everyone has in the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution? Is there a second?
Second.
The resolution is appointing Robert Deutsch as county attorney for Buncombe County. Commissioner Newman, can you read it out just so we'll have it in the record?
Absolutely. Resolution appointing Robert Deutsch, County Attorney for Buncombe County. Whereas North Carolina General Statute 153A 114 specifies and directs that the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe shall appoint a county attorney to serve at its pleasure as the board's legal advisor, and whereas Robert Deutsch, an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of North Carolina, has agreed to serve as attorney for the County of Buncombe, and whereas this board is of the opinion that Robert Deutsch possesses the requisite knowledge, experience, and qualifications to serve as county attorney for Buncombe County, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe as follows. 1, that Robert Deutsch be and he is hereby appointed county attorney for the County of Buncombe to serve at the pleasure of the board. 2, that this resolution shall be effective upon its adopted this 5th day of December 2013.
All right. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to add that there were a number of excellent candidates who stepped forward from our community to seek this public service, and it was not an easy process at all. And we were very fortunate by the talented people who presented themselves for this position. But I'm very excited that Mr. Deutsch is among them. He brings a wealth of experience and talents to the position, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to work with him individually, and I know he's going to do a great job for the people of Buncombe County.
All right. Any other discussion?
Yes. I thought that we were able to put other people up other than just one person. And you know, if we wanted to put somebody up as ourselves other than Mr. Deutsch or out of this group, we could.
Well, we have a resolution before us that's been made and seconded. I think we have to vote on the resolution first. If there is an alternative if this resolution fails, that would be appropriate to do that. But I think we've got a resolution affirmatively appointing someone. So, and I'd be glad to hear from, if you have comments on this resolution. I think that's where we are right now.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, sir. Okay, any other discussion on this resolution before the board? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the resolution made by Commissioner Newman, seconded by Commissioner Frost, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no.
No.
Okay, the vote is 4-3. In favor, Commissioner Frost, Commissioner Newman, Chairman Gant, Commissioner Jones. Against, Commissioner Belcher, Commissioner King, and Commissioner Fryer. With that, you have a majority of the board, so we'd ask you to come up and be our county attorney. Mr. Deutsch, any comments as you do? All right. Glad to have you on board. All right, the next item we have is good news and
Good news.
proclamation. Let's hear from the Primitive Quartet Day, and let's have Commissioner Belcher. Gentlemen and ladies, come on up.
Before I read this to them, I think Commissioner Vice Chair Jones has asked you boys to sing a song, and I would
Well, we'll do that, but I want you to know that I am very honored. How many people have a day? October the 12th, and I am so honored that you did that. Thank you, each and every one. And thank you for your service to our county. You could be home with your families today, but you're here doing this. Thank you for that. But we're honored.
All right.
And just before we do this, folks, if you want to take a picture for the limited purpose of this, I'll let you come up here right now and take it at this point. So I know we've got several people in here. We'll go ahead and break protocol a little bit. You can take a picture.
The one you want to do.
Commissioner Belcher, why don't you get in the middle?
All right.
Why don't you get in the middle in
All
there?
right, let me get it.
We'll get this. There you go.
Okay, we'll do that. Since this is what we're about, we've been singing 40 years, and this tells the story right here.
Well, every hope that I have here in this so sinful world is anchored in the blood of the Lamb. And though the billows are raging and we're tossed to and fro, there is peace beneath that flow. And my hope is in the blood of the precious Lamb of God. No other fountain, no fount so sweet, for it washed away my sins. It gave me peace and joy within. My hope is anchored in His blood, His precious blood. Only one thing will matter when the time shall come to die. The treasures of this world won't mean a thing. Oh, but the joy of knowing Jesus will banish all my fear. For He's took away death's sting. And my hope is in the blood of the precious Lamb of God. No other fountain, no fount so sweet, washed away my sin. It's gave me peace and joy within. My hope is anchored in His blood, His precious blood.
All right, men. County of Buncombe Proclamation of Primitive Quartet Day. Primitive Quartet, based in Candler area of Buncombe County, is celebrating their 40th year of traveling and singing gospel music. And whereas the Primitive Quartet began in 1973 when two sets of brothers, Reagan and Larry Riddle, and Furman and Norman Wilson, carried a guitar and mandolin with them on a fishing trip to Fontana Lake and realized while singing four-part harmony around that campfire that they had talent that could be used to spread the gospel. And whereas today the Primitive Quartet, Reagan, Larry, and Mike Riddle, Norman Wilson, Randy Fox, and Jeff Talbert, travels over 50,000 miles a year and plays about 150 states annually, including the Hominy Valley Singing here in Buncombe County. And whereas for more than 30 years the Primitive Quartet have hosted the Hominy Valley Homecoming every 4th of July weekend, an afternoon fall color singing gospel concerts on October weekends at Hominy Valley Singing Grounds in Candler. And whereas while these family-friendly events draw new and return visitors to our area, boosting our economy and preserving the bluegrass gospel heritage of Buncombe County, the Primitive Quartet's ultimate goal is to see believers blessed and encouraged and to help lead souls to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. And whereas this board wishes to honor the Primitive Quartet on the occasion of their 40th anniversary for using their God-given talents for the betterment of this community. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe as follows, that October 12, 2013 be proclaimed Primitive Quartet Day in Buncombe County. That this board does hereby honor Buncombe County's own Primitive Quartet for the outstanding dedication, hard work, and success that has brought honor to our county and made them a true example of our motto, people to match our mountains. That this proclamation be effective upon its adoption this, the 12th day of October 2013, Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe, and it's signed by David Gant, our chairman. And I'll tell you just very quickly when the decision was made to do this, and Chairman, I appreciate your support for this. You have no idea what it means to our community and to these men and to who they serve. But we could not get together on a date. We had so many things going on October the 15th. And Kathy was trying to find a day, and we were trying to find a day, so we ended up on October the 12th and thought it was appropriate because that was when y'all were having your singing out there. And so we went out there and shared this with them, actually out there at that time too, but to surprise them. But we found out it was their mother's birthday who had passed away. What another blessing to be able to, and we thank you so much for that, and me and y'all take that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, board.
All right, next we're going to recognize Caleb McMahon and Baker Lawrimore.
Figure out how to stage this, huh? What do you think?
Yeah, come on up and just get with the podium, guys. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, why don't... Yeah.
I'm going to do one thing.
Okay, why don't we have Caleb and Baker come back here with us? What about that? And then we'll take some pictures. How about that?
That's fine.
Did parents y'all bring cameras? Okay, great. So go for it, Commissioner Fryer.
Baker, I'm going to do this one time. Vice Chairman Jones is going to handle it because they both read the same, but I'm proud to be up here with you. I was very proud to be out at Reynolds when you were inducted to this. So go ahead, Ms. Jones.
Well, it's appropriate that there's music resounding in this room because we have two very talented young men with us today that are bringing much pride to our community. We recognize so many good things that our young people do, and I am here with two stellar students at Reynolds High and fabulous musicians. They were selected across the whole country. Musicians apply, or I guess, what do you do? Audition. You audition for. Thank you, Caleb. That's for the U.S. Army All-American Band. And at the end of the day, from all across the country, only 125 musicians are selected for this honor, and they will be going to the bowl game in January. We have two from Reynolds, Caleb McMahon and Baker Lawrimore. So we are so proud of you, and you give us great hope for the future, and thanks for showing off Buncombe County at that ball game. And we have, as Commissioner Fryer said, we have some proclamations for you too. They read the same, but this is what they say. So Caleb, this one's yours, but Baker's yours says this too. So are y'all gonna take these to college? Yeah, just kidding. You don't have to. I don't know if that's cool or not in college, but anyway. So.
On behalf of the citizens of Buncombe County, on behalf of the citizens of Buncombe County, this board does hereby express its sincere appreciation, honor, and pride in your accomplishments. Your selection for the U.S. Army All-American Bowl has brought honor to your family, your school, and your county. We wish you continued success in all your future goals and plans. And is signed by the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Get them to get some good pictures.
And we're going to get our picture made.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Oh, the seal. See, we have somebody.
Congratulations, guys. Now we have, finally we have Proclamation of Adoption Awareness Month, and Dawn Warren is going to take that for us, and Commissioner Newman's going to present it.
Whereas Adoption Awareness Month is celebrated to call attention to the fact that every child deserves to grow up in a loving, nurturing, permanent home, and that this experience lays the foundation for a happy, productive adulthood. And whereas in North Carolina, approximately 9,000 children live away from their birth parents, and adoption is the permanency plan for approximately 2,200 of these children who are waiting for a forever family. And whereas in Buncombe County, there are 300 children in foster care, and adoption is the permanency plan for approximately 20% of these children who are waiting for a forever family. And whereas during the month of November, Buncombe County Human Services, private adoption agencies, the faith community, and local advocacy groups will participate in a statewide public awareness campaign around adoption. This collaborative effort will focus greater attention on children who need permanent adoptive families and honor families who have adopted children. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners as follows, that the month of November 2013 be proclaimed Adoption Awareness Month in Buncombe County. That all citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, businesses, and others be encouraged to celebrate adoption and honor adoptive families by furthering their awareness of the issues of adoption and helping to focus attention on the need for adoptive parents and the children who are waiting for permanent homes. That this proclamation be effective upon its adoption, adopted this 5th day of November 2013, the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners. Thank you, Dawn. Do you want to say a few words about this month?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Newman and Board. This, to be honest, this is really always a little bit of a bittersweet proclamation for me, because as a social worker, my first heart and our first mission and goal is to reunite families. But we all know that there are times that simply is not in children's best interest and can't be done safely. So when that is the case, it is incumbent on us as a community to find permanent homes for these children, because every child really does deserve a family. So this month, we have adoption awareness every month at Health and Human Services, but this month in particular, we're grateful that this has been set aside. We would like to invite you and all of the citizens of our county to join us on November the 16th at the Biltmore Doubletree Hotel from 1 to 4. We're going to be having the Foster and Adopt Fall Festival. We'll have private agencies there. We'll have our agency there, other counties there. We'll have some profile information on some children that are awaiting permanent homes. We'll have pictures of those children, folks that you can talk with. Anyone that's interested in fostering or adopting, it's a great place to come and get lots of information and find out what all the options are. But we're grateful for the community support and would just love to see any of you on that day at the Biltmore Doubletree.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. And I guess, is there a motion just to formalize this to adopt the 3 proclamations we've just given out?
Make a motion.
And a motion by Commissioner Belcher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner King. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We will officially adopt those proclamations. Debbie Trumpy, rezoning request, Anthony Case. Tell us about this, and we'll have a public hearing after Ms. Trumpy's presentation.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Anthony Case has applied to rezone 60 Adams Hill Road, tax lot pin number 9639248662, from R3 Residential to CS Commercial Service District. The property is 1.96 acres and is located on the south side of Adams Hill Road, just west of the Louisiana Avenue intersection. The lot was formerly within Asheville's ETJ and was zoned residentially. The tract currently contains a single-family home. The surrounding area is a mix of commercial uses and residential uses, including single-family homes and manufactured home parks. The property is adjacent to the CS zoning district on the east, and commercially zoned property is across from the CS district, which is in the city of Asheville. Adams Hill Road is the line between the city and the county. The Planning Department is recommending approval of the request, as the requested zoning is consistent with the Buncombe County Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The land use constraint maps within the 2013 plan update show that the subject property is a reasonable proximity to infrastructure, is outside steep slope areas, is outside high elevations, is outside moderate and high slope stability hazards, and is outside flood hazard areas. While the property is adjacent to residentially zoned property on the west and south, it is located at an established commercial intersection. The Planning Board held a public hearing on this application October the 21st. The applicant indicated that he has a business that provides transportation and would like to park business vans on the property. There was no public comment. The Planning Board found that the proposed rezoning would be consistent with the land use plan, is reasonable and in the public interest, as the area has a mix of commercial uses and the CS zoning district is adjacent to the property. The Planning Board recommended approval of the rezoning to CS in a 7-0 vote.
Any questions for Ms. Trumpy? If not, we'll go ahead and start the public hearing. Any members of the public that would like to be heard on this rezoning request? And we're starting at 5:27. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this request? Yes, sir. If you'll give your name and where you're from and you have 3 minutes.
My name's Anthony Case. I'm the owner of 60 Adams Hill Road. I'm also the owner of a transportation company called Out and About. Out and About. I do a disability transport service. I have outgrown the space I'm in, and I wish to park my vans over on 60 Adams Hill Road. We go out in the community and help the elderly and the disabled, and do weddings, funerals, shopping, hospital trips, whatever they need.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Case. Any other public comment tonight? If not, I'll declare the public hearing closed at 5:29. Is there a motion?
Chairman Gant, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this rezoning resolution because it is consistent, reasonable, and in the public interest. Did I get it? Thank you.
Okay, been a motion by Vice Chair Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to ask a question. Do y'all pick up at Pisgah out in Candler? You picked my mother up. Yeah, who's in a nursing home out there, and she's at Aston Park now. And so I want to thank you for doing that. I appreciate it very much, and y'all absolutely no complaints, so thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to adopt the rezoning request, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The rezoning request is granted 7-0. Thank you for your comments and work, Mr. Case. Next, we have another public hearing on the Community Transportation Program Grant for Mountain Mobility, and we'll hear from Denise Brain about this. Denise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As you may recall, we came to you a couple of weeks ago about a public hearing on a rural operating assistance grant that was for operating funds for mountain mobility, and those funds are used to purchase trips for elderly and disabled, as well as provide employment and general public transportation. We come to you today with grant application for the other part of services that are needed to support those services, and that's our administrative and our capital funds for mountain mobility. The administrative funds are an 15% match, 85% state and federal, 15% local match, and this year we're applying for $365,315 in federal and state monies, which requires a $64,468 local match. We're also applying for capital funds in the amount of $268,712 in federal and state funds, which requires a local match of $29,858. The administrative grants help pay for staff wages and contract costs associated with the employees at Atlanta Sky Regional Council. It also offsets some of the county's costs for support, which includes technology, communications, and facility support. And it also supports some of the operational cost for drivers associated with drug and alcohol testing, as well as employee training and development for drivers. With me today are Hope Bleeker, Transit Program Manager with the Mountain Mobility Program at Atlanta Sky Regional Council, as well as Lori Hembry, the General Manager of Mountain Mobility's Operations Office on Riverside Drive. Hope is available to answer any questions should you have any about the administrative grant, and Lori is available should there be any questions on vehicles or other capital equipment requested under the grant. Also, as a part of this year's grant, the NCDOT is requiring recipients to submit requests for state match funds for expansion equipment that we may see the need for in the years FY 2016 through FY 2020. And after a review of our vehicle utilization as well as other factors involving our capital equipment, we are requesting that we submit a project request form for one expansion vehicle in the year FY 18. There's quite a bit of time before then, so we'll be bringing more formal information on that request later when the state tells us what to do in that regard. Again, these grant funds will support the administrative and capital needs of mountain mobility. We'll be glad to answer any questions you have, and we also want to thank you for your continued support of mountain mobility. Thank you.
And who does mountain mobility cover?
Mountain Mobility serves elderly and disabled people primarily, as well as clients of human service agencies and organizations here in Asheville and Buncombe County. The system also provides general public transportation outside of the city limits of Asheville, and we have some demand response transportation for the general public portion, as well as the operation of 3 Trailblazer routes in various parts of the county, one in Inca-Candler, one in Black Mountain, and one in Weaverville.
Okay. And how do people access mountain mobility?
See them all the time.
The easiest way to access mountain mobility is to simply call the one dial number 250-6750. Option 5 will get you to the information and sign-up person to discuss any questions that you may have, as well as to intake any information that's needed to determine eligibility.
Okay, so basically they call and we figure out and coordinate with them to make it happen if they're eligible for the program.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, any other questions before we start the public hearing on this request?
Yeah, one.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fryer?
The Candler, you're talking the Candler and the Weaverville stuff. The Candler, is that the one bus that basically runs for the public, just runs from Goodwill to the Inca campus?
Yes, that's correct.
And what about Weaverville? Where's that go to?
That one is the North Buncombe Trailblazer, and it runs, it meets the city bus on Elkmont Road and runs up to the manufacturing and Walmart north of Weaverville. So it runs up North Merriman through Weaverville and does a continuous route.
And the Black Mountain one, to have an idea.
Yeah, that one runs, it meets the city bus at the SunTrust in Black Mountain, and it does a community route in Black Mountain and out back towards town, close to Warren Wilson. So it runs back and forth between Warren Wilson and the city of in the town of Black Mountain, sorry.
The shortest one is the one that runs from Goodwill to the AB Tech campus at Inca, right?
The Inca Candler Trailblazer does, can serve the AB Tech campus.
That's
out
not
there.
a very far run for that one.
Relatively speaking, it goes all the way out to 40. To the what? Exit 37.
Exit 37?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I just have to say, I know some folks whose lives have literally been changed because they're going through transition, and the access to employment has been extraordinary. So thank you.
The reaction to concerns out in the community is very quick. The first phone call I got as a commissioner was someone out in Candler that was, they had either thought they missed a pickup or something, and Kathy hooked me up with the right person to talk to, and y'all took care of it just immediately, and so it's great.
All righty, everybody ready for the public hearing? I'll go ahead and start. We're at 5:37. We'll start the public hearing. Any member of the public wish to be heard about this grant application request and potential motion after the public hearing? Reverend Landis and then Mr. Rice.
I am Reverend Lisa Landis, and as someone who loves to live in the country, I know the trials and tribulations of trying to find transportation to get into the city, no matter what reason, whether it would be for doctors or work or whatever. So anytime you can include all of your community together in an effort, it is always important to do so. So I'm saying, hey, I don't know exactly how much money it is, but the public does deserve some money, especially for transportation, for whatever it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'd appreciate it just for housekeeping rules to get your mouth up to your mic because you can't hear you in the back of the room. And that's been a problem every meeting, so I wish you could do better. Thank you. Back when I was a kid, that's been a while, we rode the old Emma bus line. And I remember the old driver, he was a lot of fun. And he had that route out in Candler from there to Asheville. It cost us 35 cents, I think, to ride all that distance and get to go back in the evening. We'd get to shop and drop and then go home. But, the lifestyle has changed. And what has been presented today, I'd like to see kind of the independent person that had the transportation over here. I'd like to see if there's any way of having a better cooperation to get more independent structure into people that wants to do it for a living and get government out of it as much as possible. There might be a way of doing that. I don't know. But the other thing on the matching funds on capital, the question I had about the overall structure of this thing, it comes down to, did we save any money whenever the capital was pulled out from it before and restructured ever how you did it? I'd like to know, was there savings, or what was the purpose of taking the admin out? I think would be a fair question, and how much money that we did save. The other thing is kind of, I don't know, I say it's ridiculous, but there might be a way, because I have a lot of sympathy for this lady coming up here every time for a grant, and it seems to be just one here, one there, one here, and it just keeps being a lot of one-time things. And I'd like to see and work with the state and see if there's any way to incorporate something that would give her one time or 2 times a year, something like that, rather than having to come so many times. I think that would be a good way of trying to structure this thing instead of in piecemeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment tonight? All right. If not, I'll declare the public hearing portion of this finished at 5:40. Questions about the administrative and the saving of money and getting independent groups? Anybody want to respond to those comments?
In July of 2011, the county issued an RFP for the operation of mountain mobility, and that contract was awarded to a private transportation company. So in effect, it is operated by a business here locally. Of course, our administrative services are provided through the Land of Sky Regional Council, and our council is a council of government formed here, very similar to a quasi-governmental agency. But the operations was bid out, and we felt like that bid process gave us a good competitive price range for the operation of the system. He mentioned taking capital out. I'm not sure where that falls, and didn't understand the question, but I will say that if we're speaking of the capital in this year's grant, one of the cost savings measures that the system has employed with respect to capital is the incorporation of alt-fuel vehicles, with the CNG vehicles and the propane vehicles that comprise about 53% of our fleet. Lori's here and can speak with the best of them on cost savings on CNG and propane usage. So we certainly, if the board has any questions on that,
I'll be delve in that a little bit more. What is that? What does that mean, and how does that work?
The CNG? Okay, just a minute. Lori?
Thanks. Let me get out my notes. We have just over half of our fleet now is operating on alternative fuels. We have 10 that are running on, well, they're all biofuel vehicles, so they can run on gasoline or an alternative fuel. We have 10 that are running on liquid propane gas or auto gas, and then we have, how many? 12 CNG vehicles. The biofuel, they can run on gasoline or CNG. The bottom line is, now that we've had those for a couple of years and we've got maintenance and fuel data, if you look at a cost per mile to operate those vehicles, we save per mile 32 cents a mile when we run the CNG vehicles, and we save 22 cents a mile for the liquid propane vehicles, and that includes the cost savings in fuel, and we've also seen a cost reduction in maintenance of those vehicles. They're lasting longer. We've stretched out the preventive maintenance, and generally the maintenance on the alternative fueling system itself is lower. So the CNG is actually our cheapest, if you look at all of that, followed closely by the liquid propane and then gasoline. And then our diesel is our most expensive vehicle type to run.
And is there any difference in performance that people notice with the alternative fuels?
The difference in the performance of the vehicle is that they're improved. The vehicles have a little bit more get up and go. The drivers really like them. Another benefit of the propane is that we have a fueling station on site, so there is no they don't have to drive anywhere to get to the fueling station, so there's no deadhead miles there. There are now 3 CNG stations in Buncombe County that we can access to fuel those, so that gives us we're seeing an increase in access to that fuel. I think with the liquid propane, you, in theory, see a little bit of a drop in miles per gallon in terms of fuel efficiency, but the cost per gallon of the fuel is so low that that's offset.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we've had a presentation on the, thank you, ma'am. We've had a presentation on the Community Transportation Program grant. Is there a motion to adopt the grant request?
So moved.
Just a process question, Chairman. Do we need to, did we close the hearing already?
I thought I did. Did I? I believe I did.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure we did that. I'll second the motion.
Okay, so there's a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the chairman to execute an application for Community Transportation Program funding as stated by Denise and Landis Sky. Is there any discussion of the motion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The grant is adopted. Thank y'all for your good work. That's important. Take care of people. Next we have Mandy Stone is going to talk about the resolution regarding the membership of the Smoky Mountain LME and maybe a little background on what that means.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, as many of you are aware, North Carolina has been involved in mental health reform over several years. It's really moved from a system where we directly delivered mental health services and area authorities to what are now called local management entities or managed care organizations. They really act much like an insurance organization or a broker where they credential and enroll providers, manage a capped amount of allocation to ensure that consumers have access to services as approved by the Division of Medical Assistance. The state has been moving toward limiting the number of LMEs across the state, and as I presented a couple of weeks ago or meetings ago, Smoky Mountain and Western Highlands have merged as a result of that action. Last July, the General Assembly passed a law, North Carolina General Statute 122C-118, that said that every LME in the state had to adopt a new board structure. There could be no fewer than 11 members and no more than 21 members. 13 of those seats are mandated in the legislation around areas of expertise, and 8 of them are at large. As I presented to you previously, Western Highlands Smoky merger is 23 counties. So on the face of it, automatically, 2 counties would not have a seat. So the first action before you is a resolution that supports the advocacy agenda of the North Carolina County Commissioners Association to ask the General Assembly to remove that cap and allow all counties to have 1 representative on their area authority or LME boards. I would make the point to you that you invest $1.2 million a year in mental health. And I think it's critically important that all counties feel like they have a voice and representation on that board. So the first action is the actual resolution asking for a change in the law to remove that cap. The law that was passed in July requires all of the counties that are called constituents counties, so that'd be the 23 counties of the merged Smoky Western Highlands, to endorse or approve a slate. And that has to include those 13 required seats, plus 8 at-large seats. The Smoky Mountain and Western Highlands executive committees worked on the slate that's before you and took it before their 2 individual boards, and it's been endorsed by both of those boards. For Buncombe County, there are 4 Buncombe County residents who are appointed to this board, and I think although that's been debated, I think the safest course is that you also appoint those 4 Buncombe County residents. So you endorse the slate and then appoint the 4 Buncombe County residents. Those 4 Buncombe County residents, 3 of them sit in mandated seats. The first is Nancy Baker, who is a family member and has been the chair of the Western Highlands Consumer and Family Advisory Committee, is a resident of Buncombe. The second is Dr. Jeff Heck, who is the CEO and president at Mayhack and is filling the seat of healthcare administrator, an expert in the field of healthcare administration. We think Dr. Heck is a very important appointment because of Mayhack's involvement in the integration of behavioral health and physical health and the fact that they train physicians across the western counties. The third Buncombe resident is Carolyn Coward, who is a healthcare attorney who specializes in healthcare, which is also required under the statute. She's done a great deal of work in our community with Project Access and other initiatives that are around access to low-income individuals, and I think will make a very strong board member. And the fourth member is myself. Of the 8 at-large seats, 4 of those went to Smoky, and they appointed county commissioners who had previously been on the Smoky board. 4 of those went to Western Highlands, and they appointed 4 county managers who were the representatives on the Western Highlands board. So that's what makes up the slate before you, and I'm happy to answer any specific questions. If the counties fail to appoint a board slate that complies with the statute, then the law actually says that the secretary shall appoint the board. So while we are not happy that every county does not have a seat or a voice on the board, we do believe it's still in our communities, our mutual 23 communities' best interest to adopt the slate of officers.
All right, sounds like we've got 3 potential actions here. Any questions for Ms. Stone about the first, which will be a resolution regarding the membership from to increase it from to amend it to remove the limitation of 21 members? Okay, is there a motion to adopt the resolution that basically amends the law to remove the limitation of 21 and allow each Board of Commissioners to appoint a representative?
Make a motion.
Okay. Motion, Commissioner Belcher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Frost. Is there any discussion?
I'm just really, I think this is a great example of a legislative request that has direct impact on our community, and I think it's a great model for this board communicating with the General Assembly when we see and identify arenas that need improvement or change, or so. I'm glad you brought it forward first.
And Mandy, I'm guessing that the ones that don't have a representative are probably smaller counties. Is that right?
That is true, although I will say among the Western Highlands counties that there was actual discussion about how we could represent each other. And, for example, Henderson conceded that Buncombe assume the first seat for the county manager representation. So there was a lot of partnership among the Western Highland counties in making sure we had representation of rural and urban counties.
That's great. That's important. Thank you. Any other discussion or questions?
I have one.
Yes, sir,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman. Ms. Stone, I just would like to ask, do you feel comfortable with the new arrangement? I know we've had a lot of discussion, but I just would like publicly to hear that the Western Highlands thing was the outcome was less than desirable. Hopefully, this is an arrangement that works much better for us. And do you feel like Buncombe's interest is well protected in this new arrangement?
I feel like Buncombe's interest is well protected. I'm not sure that the design is what any of us would have come up with as individuals, but I do think it very much aligns us with the direction the state's moving forward with around managed care of all Medicaid services. I think it puts us in a very good position to have a leadership role across the state.
Thank you.
I have a question around, and it's not around the resolution part. So we have another chance as it goes down.
Yeah, what I foresee is we'll do the resolution,
Okay.
consider that, then we'll talk about the slate, and then
Okay.
we'll talk about the 4 Buncombe appointees. Okay, anything else about the resolution the 21 members and allowing each board to appoint a rep. Okay. All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
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 All opposed, no. Resolution is adopted 7-0. Next, we have Ms. Dunn has talked about the slate. We have that in our package. Is there any discussion about the slate, endorsing the slate as proposed by Ms. Dunn and LME?
I just have a question. Remind me again about going as we go. I think the slate is great, and I can't imagine all the hard work to get all the slots filled. Anyway, it should be some like a video game or something. I bet it was like check this box in this county. But anyway, what about going forward? Remind me about the nominating process going forward and how, as things change and term limits, and how that will look going forward.
It will continue to require it required staggered terms. There was a lot of thought given to which of those seats to stagger at 1 year, 2 year, and 3 years. An example would be one of the required areas of expertise is a social services director. That was made a 1 year term because you clearly have 23 DSS directors with the expertise to move in and off that board with very little transition issues. Whereas,
right.
You know, some of them, like a hospital administrator, we made a 3 year term, so there was a lot of thought about the expertise and the ability to build that. Every time there's a change in board representation, it will require the endorsement or approval of the 23 constituent counties.
Is there going to be like a subcommittee for the board that will kind of identify who they would put forward to the 23 counties?
I think the executive committee will do that. Clearly, once this board is in place, the Western Highlands Board will continue to meet through the closeout, the financial closeout of Western Highlands, but this will be the single board that's making all of the policy and administrative decisions for the LME, and that executive committee would serve as the nominating committee by the current bylaws.
Okay, great. How would you think it would be appropriate should it be the will of this body to kind of weigh in on future things to look for as they fill out their board to replace, i.e. a broader racial demographic representation? I mean, I think it's really tricky in our community for a lot of reasons, but I don't think that's a reason to not try and to not work at that type of diversity. Because doesn't look like there's a lot of racial diversity in this board. That's not a judgment. I'm just saying going forward, how can we integrate that value to the executive committee? Should that be a determination by this board? Would that be an appropriate way to?
I think it's very appropriate, and I think that this board could communicate, along with their endorsement of the slate, the intent for you to see future nominations, look at how, is it a diverse representation across the 23 counties? I think that's a very valid point. I do think one of the strengths under North Carolina General Statute about mental health boards is that they do recognize that consumers and family members have a voice, and as you'll see, there are 4 required seats around consumers and family members. But I think that that's a great point and would encourage the board to do that. And I'm happy to draft that to go forward to the executive committee.
I think it's really important.
And to follow what Vice Chair Jones is saying, well, we have the sheriff sitting here getting input from law enforcement, because they're certainly very challenged by this.
Sure.
Okay. I think we could do that tonight, couldn't we? Just add that.
Absolutely.
Adopt the slate and consider Vice Chair Jones's additional consideration that all future appointments to consider racial diversity in the future appointments.
Absolutely.
Is there a motion along those lines? Or any other discussion first? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the slate with the request that the board continue to consider racial diversity as a factor in appointment of the future representatives of the LME?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Frost. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman or Belcher? Belcher. Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor of adopting the slate and additionally making a recommendation that the future appointments continue to consider racial diversity among the future appointments. All those in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then that, we've endorsed the slate and also made the suggestion about the racial. Next motion I think we would have would be to appoint the Buncombe County, I had down Nancy Baker, Dr. Jeff Heck, Carolyn Coward, and Mandy Stone to positions. 3 are specialized position, and I think Ms. Stone has, not that you're not specialized, but you do not have a specific slot that was set out for some particular profession. Kind of an at-large member.
That's right.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt those individuals?
So moved.
Okay. Motion, Commissioner King, second Vice Chair Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor of appointing Nancy Baker, Dr. Jeff Heck, Carolyn Coward, and Mandy Stone to the as Buncombe County appointments to the LME, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then they are so appointed. Thank you, Mandy, for hard work. Tough board. Thank you. Next up, we have Donna Clark to talk about the resolution concerning the county's intent to reimburse for capital expenditures. Ms. Clark.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This resolution is a requirement of the Internal Revenue Service when the county intends to begin projects and pay cash from their operating funds, but at a later time they intend to borrow the money and reimburse themselves for those expenditures that were spent between the time period of the project starting and issuing the debt. So these particular projects were adopted in the FY14 budget, and they are for the detention center, HVAC systems, elevator, and a roof. Any questions?
Do we do this annually?
We do this.
Or when we go financing?
We do this anytime that we have projects that we're going to pay some cash for before we actually go to the bond market. Sometimes that timing's off a little bit, so, and you wouldn't want to issue debt for just $4 million. You'd want to put that in a larger issuance. So
Better rates for a bigger mortgage, right?
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, any other questions or comments? Motion?
So moved.
Motion to adopt the resolution, Vice Chair Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Frost. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
And then if we could talk about the grant projects brought up from consent agenda. I think
Actually,
Dr.
the
Green's.
sheriff is here to explain that.
Okay.
The grant. Thank you.
Great. Sheriff Duncan, always good to have you. Good to be here. And we particularly appreciate, I know that many of the commissioners go to the COPS meetings. I think Commissioner Frost was last night, and I'm sure the others have been at the other ones. Thank you for going out in our community and talking.
Yes, sir. Good evening. It's great to be here, Commissioners, and to talk a little bit about this grant. December 14th was a tragic day in this country's history, and that's when the Sandy Hook mass shooting occurred at the elementary school. It left everybody in a state of shock for several weeks after. Before that month was out, Buncombe County leaders and Asheville City leaders came together for a joint meeting to talk about what can we do to make our schools safer. And at that point in time, I think everybody felt like we just ought to put an officer in every school. And then we looked at the real money cost of that, and it was just not doable. The group went on to appoint a problem-solving group with Dr. Tony Baldwin's approval to go forward and try to find what was the best approach that was the most affordable but had the biggest impact on school safety. So it was a very comprehensive plan that came forward, and the reason why I'm going through this is because it's important for the grant that we received. And I want to thank the commissioners for having the courage to invest in school safety and stepping forward and saying we are going to grant this team's request that came back with that comprehensive plan to put 7 new school resource officers to work in Buncombe County. Because we had that documentation and because our plan was comprehensive and well detailed and well researched, we submitted an ask for a COPS grant, for a Department of Justice COPS grant. And we did receive that grant, an $875,000 grant, which pays 75% of those officers' salaries for the next 3 years. I have Sherry Powers with me here tonight if there's any questions particular about the money. And her and Jeremiah Leroy put that grant together, and they did a phenomenal job. We received a much larger grant than any other agency in the state, and I think it was because of that comprehensive collaborative planning that we did, and we had that in place when we submitted the grant.
Nice.
Can I answer any questions about any of that?
Sheriff, not about this grant, but we also, did we not include counseling as part of the comprehensive plan? I don't know if this addresses that, but I thought it very wise to invest in counseling to get the root of some of these problems as well as the reaction to them. So if you could address that just a minute.
Chairman Gann, it absolutely did. It addressed everything from the mental health side, from the counselor side. It had very much a direction of prevention as opposed to just being there if something bad should happen. It really worked from the angle of having school resource officers go in with school administration and with mental health experts, and if there was a recognized issue in the school with an individual, to start working in a positive way on that individual and on that situation, so we didn't just wait around for something to occur. And I think that's a best practice. I think it's something that a lot of other places are going to be doing, and quite frankly, I think because we took that approach is why we received that grant.
Are these in the middle schools?
These officers are to rotate through the elementary schools.
Elementary schools.
We already had coverage in the high school and the middle schools, but we had no relief factor there.
Gotcha.
So we, by design, were sometimes leaving the high schools and the middle schools uncovered. We did not have an officer for the optional school out in Swannanoa, and this took care of all those needs, plus gave us a little bit of resource to be able to do some preventative programs surrounding hopefully bullying as we move forward and some of the other issues that we know that causes a lot of these issues, problems that result in those events taking place.
Oh, great.
Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Can we still, I know what we was doing there for a little bit, sending officers to do their paperwork and stuff to different schools. Can we still utilize that?
They are still going there and having those interactions. We can still do that. We have really started trying to rotate those officers through the elementary schools and making sure that that coverage is good. And what we have now is we have the resource available to where if an elementary school principal sees there's a problem and an issue, we have somebody that we can send without having to leave a middle school or a high school uncovered. So
I agree with that, but we could still utilize, I mean, you got 7 officers and you got 16 or 17 elementary schools.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're still utilizing a deputy's car on the property, basically, at some of these schools, it would still help, and it looks like we have more than what we do have.
We do, and we've actually used civil process and other divisions within the sheriff's office the first couple of days when we started out school this year, because everybody had a little bit of angst about starting back with a new school year. We utilized those folks early in the morning to go out when that presence is greatest with the parents, and that's generally, when you look at the research, that's generally when these things happen, is early in the morning, and that's when we had those officers there, not just school resource.
Thank you.
Is bullying the biggest challenge?
That, along with the issue of doing prevention about drug abuse, are 2 of the biggest issues we deal with in public schools. When you look at the things that cause a mass shooting, it's an unresolved, intense conflict that a lot of times results from mistreatment in schools or the workplace, and those things going unresolved. And it is a huge problem. I'm sure that the school administration, Jan Blunt's here, I'm sure that they would tell you that that's probably one of the biggest complaints that they get and we have the hardest time addressing. So we know that where the real solution is going to lie is in prevention.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, one of the reasons I had that pulled out is I wanted to make sure that the public heard this good news, $875,000 that y'all were able to acquire, that either allows us to provide much better service and also saves, the county, that money for that 3 years. And I applaud that effort and what your department is doing in that area. Thank you very much.
Well, and commissioners, in all honesty, if y'all haven't had the wherewithal to step forward and do that, we wouldn't have been in a position to get that grant. You were ready with your commitment to step forward and say safety in our schools matter. And we were fortunate enough, and we had the staff in place with writing the grant that were talented enough to be able to come in and get reimbursement on that. So thank you.
Well, Sheriff, and this is also to Jan, the truth of the matter is that y'all had, when the Aurora, Colorado shooting took place, you had started. This isn't something you just started in December. This is something you had anticipated long before and had been working on. Is that right?
That is correct. We had a good school safety plan in place that was developed after Columbine. We had one of the nationally recognized experts, Michael Dorn, come in and help develop that plan. We felt we were in pretty good shape, but after what we saw take place in Sandy Hook, we felt like we needed to step up and revisit and make sure it was as relevant as it was at the time, and then add to it and strengthen it even more.
Jan, do you have anything? Jan Blunt with the county school system. Thank you for your good work with them.
Thank you very much. I wanted to mention two things. Yesterday, purely by coincidence, I did a ride-along with one of our new elementary SROs, and I'd like to invite you to do the same thing. I guess the sheriff won't mind me saying that. Lieutenant Ruby will be happy to help you. What was so interesting, and it addresses your bullying question, one of the very first things that the SRO said to me was, I start my day with a car rider line at one school. I do lunch at another. She's covering 3 schools. And then at the end of the day, I see the car rider line at the end so the parents can see me. But I also observe, she said, in the morning, students coming in and they may not be happy to come to school or they may look like they have a problem. And she actually spent the first hour going around to students who she observed walking in the door looking like they were concerned. One she thought might be bullied because he obviously didn't want to come to school. So what was that issue? One didn't want to go home. So what was that issue? And so she was actively looking into what the children's issues might be in a way that she could proactively address them. So that was just super. The other thing I wanted to tell you is also thank you for the money that you have helped us fund electronic entry systems at the school. I happened to observe that Glenn Arden, front desk person, letting people in. Well, you would have thought she was working in your area out here. She was making gentlemen open their coats and pull their pants out, and she could watch them on camera and make sure they didn't have anything hidden. I mean, she clearly was taking her position very seriously. She did say that some of the parents weren't too happy about having to empty out the toolbox that they had brought to help somebody, but that's definitely working as well. And the third thing I wanted to say is that on November the 20th, I hope you will take the time, along with anyone you feel should be there. We're having a Safe School Symposium, the Sheriff's Department, along with Buncombe County Schools and others, at Biltmore Baptist Church. They were gracious enough to offer us that facility. Counties from around the region will be sending people. Parents are invited, along with school safety teams and the health department folks and emergency first responders. So anybody is invited who cares about school safety. It will begin at 9 o'clock. Breakfast is being provided free. Lunch is being provided free. Thank you, Chick-fil-A. And we hope that's going to be a great event. It'll wrap up by 2. So 9 to 2, November 20th. There's a registration form just so we have a lunch count on the school system's district website. You'll see the article at the very front. So thank you for letting me tell you about that.
Thank you, Jan.
Thanks.
Any more questions for Ms. Blunt or the sheriff? Any comments? Is there a motion to adopt the grant, let's see, the grant application, grant project application?
It's actually the grant ordinance approving.
Yeah.
Grant ordinance, excuse me. Any motion to grant to adopt the grant capital project ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
All those, actually, it's a grant project ordinance, I believe to be, okay.
There you
There's
go.
been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The grant projects ordinance is granted. All right. Next, we have board appointments. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Ms. Blunt. Next, we have board appointments. Are there any nominations for the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee?
Chair McGann, I'm happy to nominate Judy Olivnik and Paula Garber.
Are there any other nominations? We have 6 vacancy. We've heard 2 nominations tonight. Okay, if none, all those in favor of those individuals say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then they are appointed, and we have 4 more appointments on that board. Next, we have the Asheville Buncombe Community Technical Board of Trustees, 1 vacancy. Is there a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Mike Fryer.
Second.
Mr. Fryer's been nominated. Are there any other nominations? All those in favor of Commissioner Fryer to be appointed to the AB Tech Community Board of Trustees, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Thank you, Commissioner Fryer, for serving in our. You'll be taking Commissioner Peterson's place, who represented us very ably for many years, and I know you will too. Thank you. We also have openings on the County Board of Adjustment, 2 vacancies. The Pack Place Board, 1 vacancy. Well, we need a closed session tonight. All right, then the announcements will be, the next meeting of Buncombe County Commission will be November 19, beginning at 4:30 in room 236 at 200 College Street in downtown Asheville. Ribbon cutting ceremony for the Buncombe County Judicial Complex will be held on Thursday, November 7 at 2 p.m. at the News Center. Commission meetings can be seen on BCTV Charter Cable Channel 192, ATT U-verse Channel 99, and live anytime on Buncombe County Channel 192 or buncombecounty.org during the meetings, or online anytime at buncombecounty.org. I think I said that twice. Okay. Are there any other comments or matters to come before the Commission tonight? All those. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Commissioner Vice Chair Jones, second by Commissioner Fryer. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right. All righty.
And for all of them to come here and see, there's one guy. He absolutely. He lives his life. She wants 0.